Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters, and it is great to be with you as always. Before we jump into the episode today, I had something I wanted to talk through with you guys real quick. So as you probably know, you've heard me talk about Go Hunt in the past, and I've had several Go Hunt guests on the show. And I've been, partnered with Go Hunt for a little bit of time now. But I'm actually going to be moving away from that partnership, and I'm going to be working with onX, actually, onX Hunt. So, everything I said in my previous episodes about Go Hunt is 100% true and authentic. I think Go Hunt Insider is an excellent tool for research and draw odds and that kind of thing, and finding tags and units out west. It's a great tool, but for several reasons, I decided to go ahead and start working with onX. Now, I don't think that it was a secret, but, I had been using onX maps forever, for years. I've been an onX Elite member, for probably as long as onX has been out almost. I think most guys recognize it as kind of the number one tool as far as mapping goes. And they've recently just acquired Top Rut and started working with Hunt and Fool as well to bring in the draw odds and research side of things as well. But, I don't need to go into a whole bunch of detail about it. But basically, onX is a great company. It's a great product. I think their maps are second to none. And the other side of things, they're kind of working to get better and improve on. And I have nothing against Go Hunt. Like I said, I got some great friends over there. It's a good company. Insider's a great tool, but for me and for my business and what I'm trying to build here, it just made the most sense to partner with onX, and I'm really excited to be doing so. There's some great folks at onX. And I've really enjoyed just my interactions with them so far. So there's going to be more coming down the line about that. I'm going to have some guests from onX on the show, but I wish all my buddies over at Go Hunt the best. And but I'm looking forward to this new chapter of being partnered with onX Maps. So I am really excited about it. If you're watching online, you'll probably notice I'm wearing an onX shirt. So you're going to be hearing more about that coming down the line, but I'm excited to be working with onX. It's a great company, and I've been using them for years, and their maps are just kind of the industry standard. I mean, pretty much everybody uses onX. It seems like if you don't use onX maps, it's an amazing tool for, if you want to do DIY Western hunts or even, anywhere in the country. They have amazing mapping both on the desktop and on your phone. Like I said, I've been an Elite member for years. And if you're not a member and you'd like to sign up and check it out, you can use the code QUEST20 and save 20% on your membership. And that will help support the show as well. But it's just a great thing that I'm able to kind of forge some new partnerships in this space. Also recently announced working with Barnes Bullets out of Utah, as well as Seekins Precision. And I got one more exciting announcement coming soon. I'm not sure when this will air. I may have already announced it, but basically I'm going to be partnered also with Loophole Optics, which I'm very excited about. I use their stuff, shooting, filming all of season 1, and I'm going to be using even more of their stuff kind of exclusively while filming season 2. So really stoked about some amazing partnerships that I've been able to forge already with Barnes Bullets, onX Hunt, Seekins Precision, and now Loophole Optics. So very excited about those. I've been very intentional about who I partner myself with because I don't want to just work with anybody who writes me a check. I want to work with good companies that make quality products that I believe in. Some of these companies like Loophole and Seekins and Barnes, actually, I used their products all the first season during filming my hunts. Not because they were paying me, not because I was partnered with them, but because I chose to use those products and wanted to use those products. And then after taping, I came to them and kind of sought out a partnership. And I'm very fortunate that they were happy to jump on board and going forward, we're going to be partnered with some of those companies. I'm looking forward to building more, but very excited about the quality of all my partners so far and the products that they make. And I'm just very proud to be working with these companies and looking forward to adding to that list. So I want you guys to know that I'm going to do everything in my power to be completely authentic through this whole process and really not promote products that I don't believe in or would not use myself. And that is absolutely the case to this point with everything that I'm partnering with right now. Amazing companies that I'm proud to work with. So anyway, I just want to talk through that with you guys. So you don't get surprised when you see the announcement or hear me talking about it. I want to just kind of go through my thought process there. But anyway, this week I have an awesome guest. You may have heard of him before. I'm not sure. He's been on a few podcasts, but he's known as the modern day mountain man. His name is Billy Molls, and he is a Alaskan guide and just been a big game hunting guide and adventurer for many years. He's very knowledgeable. He's also a believer. And so we talk about hunting in Alaska and faith. And it's just a great conversation with a really solid dude. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. And I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Billy Molls. Enjoy. All right, guys, welcome to the Hunter's Quest podcast. This is your host, Hunter McWaters, and I'm here today with my guest, Billy Molls. I say that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Is it Molls or Moles?
Moles. I pronounce it moles, like mole in the ground. Yeah.
Okay. I've heard people say both, so I should have asked before we started rolling, but I'm here with Billy Molls. How you doing, dude?
Doing all right.
All right, cool, man. So if you guys haven't seen or heard of Billy, he's got some epic YouTube content. He's been a guide for a really long time, but he can probably introduce himself better than I can. So Billy's, and we've never really talked before, so I'm excited to hear about you a little bit. So just give me a little bit of your background and then kind of what you're up to now, and just tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, born and raised on a farm in Wisconsin, still where I live today. And
Is that where you are now, or are you up in Alaska?
Yep. I only go to Alaska anymore, as a young, yeah. So I just love trapping. My grandpa was a farmer and a professional trapper. He'd trap 4 or 5 months every winter in northern Wisconsin, and then he'd just build a log cabin and come home when the spring thaw came, sell his furs, buy seed, and start a new farming season. So his pictures, his lifestyle inspired me, and I started trapping. Late 80s, the fur market fell out. I wanted to be a professional trapper, as a young kid, kind of like my grandpa, but I didn't want to farm. I just wanted to trap. You know? And once the fur market fell out, I realized, I can't make a living off of that. Started hunting, loved that, and my grandpa said, Billy, if you want outdoor adventure, Alaska's the place. That's the place to go. And
had your grandfather come up to Alaska before, or he just heard about it?
He never had. He said he rode it to an outfitter one time, and probably realistically didn't have the money or the time. My grandpa went to Ontario a lot, moose hunting himself. Moose, he really loved moose hunting. But really, it was just the outdoor adventure. If you watch my YouTube channel, you'll hear me talk about Lightning Creek. Just going around the next bend in the river, not knowing what was ahead. I mean, that just lit a fire inside of me. That's what I loved. That's still what I love today. Went to Alaska, went to a guide school in Montana at 19, and worked for an outfitter in Idaho that fall. Rode every outfitter I could find in Alaska the next year. Started out as a packer like most guys, and did that for 2 years, and have been guiding there now 25 years. When I was young, when I first started, I'd be there. I'd do spring brown bear. I'd guide salmon fishermen during the summer. and then I'd do the fall hunts, and then I'd come home, I'd wash my clothes, and then I'd drive to Idaho, and I guided in the Frank Church River No Return for 7 years,
Oh,
7 or 8 years.
nice.
And then eventually I got kind of burned out on fishing. I figure fish guiding's like adult daycare, man. It just I'm not a very good fisherman to boot, so I don't know. That just wasn't my calling, and
Yeah,
eventually
I'm
I
the
quit.
same, man. I like fishing, but like I could never like I can't imagine like traveling all the way like to Alaska or something just to catch a fish. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love fishing, but like I want to have a tag in my pocket, man.
Yeah, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. What I
Yeah.
find interesting though is a lot of big game hunters. This is something that I've observed a lot. So many, if they hunt big game a lot in their younger years, many of them revert to, well, I shouldn't, maybe revert isn't the right word, but they kind of almost like cross over, and then many go to wing shooting or
Hmm.
fly fishing. I think they just get to something very simple, basic, and elementary, kind of like go or like traditional archery. They
Yeah.
get to that point. It's kind of like, and I honestly, I kind of feel like maybe to some degree I'm starting to switch over.
Mm.
I got a lab dog like puppy here now, so but I'm more interested in wing shooting than I ever was. For me, when I was young, it was all big game.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do, and I still love that. But I also find myself just wanting to just do things more simple. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know if pure is the right word, but I kind of want to fail more. Um, I don't know. I think I'm starting to understand that, but I've noticed that that's very, very common thread with
Yeah.
big hunters as they get older. Maybe the physical challenge is also a little bit too exerting too, and they just want something simple that they can do simply.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
mean,
who I
if
am, and then now today doing ever since I started, filmed my hunts, started producing. Basically, I made home video for my grandpa, and over time had all these hunts compiled, made a video, ran a television show for a couple of years, got burned out on that real fast. I'm
mm,
not big into the marketing aspect.
yeah, it's a
I
lot of
hated
that.
that, and I just like this is not for me. And the pressure of it, I didn't like, and so I just continued to film my videos, and over time, still working at that. Um, I do some hunt consulting as well. Guys that want to go hunting, they'll contact me. I'll help them find hunts. And then I do a lot of public speaking anymore. That's growing pretty fast. Something that I really enjoy. I get to share my passion with Christian outreach events, wild game dinners, doing a fair bit of corporate speaking. I really enjoy that. You get a lot of people that are non-hunters,
Yeah.
and I'd say probably most of the feedback I get at particularly corporate events are from non-hunters and a lot of women, because in our mainstream media, hunting is portrayed in a less than favorable light
Yeah.
most times, and you
Sure.
can kind of give them the truth of how the wilderness really truly works and kind of open their eyes to the amazing natural phenomenon of nature, and then they it kind of knocks their defense and their shell, cracks their
Totally.
shell a little bit for them to recognize that, hey, there's more to nature and there's more to hunting than what I've been told. And so you can kind of
For
break those
sure.
walls down. So I'm really enjoying corporate speaking and getting that opportunity to speak to audiences
Yeah.
that have a guard up when you start talking.
Yeah, I've seen that same thing too. Like when I when people like ask what I do, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm starting a hunting show or whatever," or people who are like kind of not anti, but they're not hunters either. And then you start to explain like what we actually do, what it's like, and they're like, "Oh, okay. Oh, well, okay. Well, that's cool." You know what I mean? It's like you said, they have this totally like wrong picture of what it is in their head. And you start to actually explain like what you do, and they're like, "Whoa, okay, well, that's really cool. I can get behind that."
Yeah, there's more to, belching and farting and ripping around on four-wheel drive trucks in the mud and killing everything that moves. That's not what it is.
For sure, yeah. I mean, for some people it is maybe.
Yeah, there's a little of
Yeah.
that.
Um. So yeah, man. So just for you for context, like my first backcountry trip ever was in Alaska, actually, which is kind of crazy. But it's got a special place in my heart. We did a DIY walk-in caribou hunt on a controlled use area. Um, Spent a few days there, and then had to move somewhere else that had a few more people in it. But amazing experience, changed my life, man. What was your kind of first Alaska experience, and did you have a moment where it's like, or did something? What is it about Alaska that kind of captivated you to want to kind of really build your life around spending time up there?
Yeah, the first hunt that I was on Kodiak. I was a packer. We shot this huge bear. We had to pack the thing out like 11 miles. I mean, it was like a 10
Really
foot.
quick, 1 second. Let me jump in really quick. I think a lot of people might be familiar with it, but just briefly walk me through, like when you say you're a packer, like the process, so people know the process of becoming a registered guide in Alaska. Just
Yeah, so
briefly.
basically you're a human mule for a couple of years. I don't even know what the law is, but I did it for 2 years. You're there to basically be a mule, to carry, be the grunt, dig the outhouse, do the bidding, do the dishes, do whatever, keep your mouth shut and work hard.
Yeah.
And then, if you do that, eventually somebody will notice and
Yeah.
teach you a little bit along the way. So basically, you got to pay your dues and prove that you're going to stick.
Yeah.
That you're worth investing in, and then you can get a guide's license, and then I think you got to be what's called an assistant guide, which most people would consider to be a guide in the
Right.
West, let's say. And then I think it's 3 years after that, and I think it's like 8 hunts and some letters of recommendation. Then you can get a registered guide license, which is basically an outfitter's license.
Yeah.
And then you can contract your own hunts legally.
Did you do any training for when you went out for your first packing assignment, or you just kind of went in blind and just kind of hoped for the best?
I was doing my training my whole life on a farm, throwing hay bales, milking cows, and pitching manure.
Nice.
But yeah, that basically they just need a warm body, a strong back, and a weak mind, as the saying goes. And to being a farm kid, that's probably what opened some doors up for me. The guide school, you don't need that to start in guiding. It's just I didn't know any other way. It's
Yeah.
a way to get your foot in the door. And then that guide school that I went to, they basically set me up with a job with an outfitter
Oh, okay.
in Idaho. So it was
Nice.
just a way to start because
Yeah.
I didn't know what else to do. You wouldn't
Sure.
need to do that. But yeah, to get a guide license, I don't know if it's 60 or 30 days now, 2 calendar years. You have to have a hunting license and a letter of recommendation from an outfitter is
Okay.
basically the gist of it. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, just Kodiak was wild. It was big. I mean, it was humbling, very, very humbling. I've
Hmm.
talked about it. I've talked about it on some other on my videos, but what was all entailed in the hunt. But I couldn't pack that bear hide. I mean, that hide was over 150 pounds. And if I'm being honest, I think we were 13 miles up our spike camp. We spiked up wearing hip boots, 10 days worth of food. We had snowshoes, tons of snow. We shot the bear 2 miles upstream from where we were spiked out, packed it back to camp. I honestly, I zipped myself up in the sleeping bag that night because I actually didn't have snowshoes. And so my hip boots were filled with snow because the snow
Jeez.
was like, I don't know, 10 feet deep. I don't know. The only thing that stopped me from sinking to oblivion was my crotch. And so my hip boots
That's
were filled
crazy.
with snow. We waited for the bear because he was bedded on the edge of a cliff for hours, like 5 hours, and I was frozen. Finally, it's almost dark. We scared the bear, so he walks up into this avalanche chute of snow boulders so that he wouldn't roll down into this crevasse because the guy knew that if the bear falls into that crevasse, we can't get down there and
Yeah.
get out. And so we'd lose the bear. But long story short, we get the bear, go back to camp that night, and I'm so cold. I didn't eat. I just crawled in the sleeping bag, got buck naked, and I zipped my cheap sleeping bag. I just prayed that it was enough. I zipped it up as tight as I could, and I tucked it around my face, and I just cinched it shut. And I woke up. I was like, I might die. I figured I'd probably live, but in my mind, I was like, well, if I die, I die. And because
Wow.
I couldn't do anything about it. I was just so cold. And then I woke up, I don't know, hours later, and I was drenched in sweat. Thank God. So
Oh, jeez.
I warmed up, and then the next morning, man, I started eating. Went up, packed this bear out, and we skin it out, pack it, and the next day we were packing it out, and I made it, I don't know, 2/3 of the way, so maybe like 7 miles, and I'm done. We crossed the creek. It's so brushy, so we're kind of walking in the creek, but it was a legit creek, borderline river. And then you'd have these 4 or 5 foot cut banks that you'd have
Yeah.
to all up on bear crawl. The
Yeah.
pack weighed easily 150 pounds, easily.
Jeez.
The bear was huge. You know,
Were
got my
your
rifle,
feet
my
just like trashed from being wet and walking
oh
that far in hip boots?
yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
Like
they're
just
soaking wet. That's all you had. No
yeah.
Crocs, no
So you probably had like the skin just like hanging off your feet like a zombie.
Yeah, well, we weren't that many days in yet, but I mean that was the least of my problems.
Yeah.
I just remember like I couldn't keep up to the guide, and I just remember thinking of my family. I remember one day I was in the middle of the creek and it was cold, but I just dipped my hat in the creek, filled it with water, and just threw it on my head because I was drenched in sweat. I was hot. I was just struggling so hard, and eventually I get up to the guide, and he's sitting there, and he's like, "Give me your pack." And I'm like, "No, Craig, I got it." He's like, "Give me your pack. You can't keep up. We got to get back to the Zodiac because the tide was going
Yeah.
out. We had to get back to the shore, and then our camp was 4 or 5 miles up the way." And he knew the tide was going out, and he wanted to get back to base camp and drink beer. And so he took the pack. I took his. I mean, his was still 120 pounds. It was still stupid heavy. But anyways, long story short, we get back, we race out, the tide's going out, we hustle, we get into the water. And I mean, it was just 4 or 5 hours of just gut level exertion. And then all of a sudden there we are, we're cruising in the boat. And there I am just looking at the mountains. I mean, Kodiak is rugged. It's
Yeah.
it's rugged. The mountains are steep, much of it, and they're thick and brushy. And I'm just looking, we're in Uyak Bay. And I'm just looking and I'm like, dang, I can't do it. I I can't. I couldn't pack the bear out. I'm gonna go home a failure. And just sitting there for a while, I don't know if the guide sensed it. It was kind of really the first bit of encouragement that he gave me. Not that he was like mean, but he was just quiet. And he punched me in the thigh and he said, "Hey man, you packed that bear farther than I thought you would." And I look at him,
Nice.
I'm like, really? And he's like, "Yeah, you did pretty good." He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 19." And he's like, "Yeah, man." He said, "Endurance will come with age." He said, I've probably hit my peak when I was about 28, 30. He said, "It'll come. You did good."
Nice.
I mean, he breathed,
Yeah,
power, life and death is in the tongue. And
for
that man
sure.
breathed life in me. I mean, if I wouldn't have gotten that encouragement, and I mean, I was a new man. And, you know, it was miserable to answer your question. That first month, I packed 2 hunts. It was miserable. And I remember afterwards, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. Or during the hunt, I was like, man, this is tough. It's cold. It's miserable. The days are long. It's
Yeah.
boring. But then when I was away from it, it was just something calling me. It's just like, man, I can't wait to go back.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing too? I mean, just how powerful a well-timed piece of encouragement can be. I mean,
Yeah.
literally can save somebody almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't know what that means when you see somebody in a state of rejection or depression or whatever it is. Dejection is maybe the best word.
Uh-huh.
And it's so easy to not say something and think, "Oh, what's their problem?" Or, "Oh man, I can tell they're sad." But I mean, gosh, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Very often it doesn't take much of an encouragement, just like, "Hey man, I can," I mean, it's just like anything. It takes discernment and takes wisdom how to discern. Just the other day, I'll give you this story. I mean, this is how the
Sure.
Lord works. So I got kind of a unibrow, right? So I got about 15 hairs that grow in between my eyebrows, and so
Yeah.
every week or two I'll pluck those things out because they just get crazy and wild, right? So I'm
Uh-huh.
looking for tweezers. I got one drawer in my bathroom, and so I can't find it there. So I start looking in all the other drawers. Kids are in there half the time. My wife, she usually doesn't take my stuff. I'm sure it was the kids, but I start looking in the other drawers, and there's tampons seemingly in every drawer. I
Yeah.
suppose, and I thought of a devotional analogy and thinking of calling it tampons, bullets, and Bibles, because as hunters, we go hunting and we stuff bullets in our pockets everywhere. You got one in your
Yeah.
chest, every
Yeah.
carton pocket, back pocket, pack pocket, because that way when things get crazy,
Yep.
wherever you dig and look, you got a bullet. And so I carry these little copies of New Testament around. I give them out to all my speaking engagements. A guy gave
Nice.
me one, changed my life. And so I kind of made a habit. I got them in every coat pocket, vest pocket, in my truck. I'm like, man, I really got to make a habit of just making sure that I have one on, because you never know when somebody's going to
Yeah,
need it. You're going to feel led that, they could use that,
for
right?
sure.
That's our sword in life. And so that very day, I'm going to a speaking engagement in Pennsylvania, driving into town to pick up my daughter, and then we're going. She's coming with me. We're going to the airport, And there's this girl on the side of the road just bawling, walking on the side of the road, 30 degrees. And so I drive by her and I see that and I go, there was a roundabout there. I was just got into town and I turn around, go back, and I'm on the opposite side of the road. I said, "Do you need help? Can I take you somewhere?" And she just shakes her head, says no, and she keeps walking. I said, "Are you hurt? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" And she says, "No." And I said, "Can I pray for you?" And she stopped and she looked at me and just bawling and she said yes. So I get out of my truck. I said, "Hey, can I come over?" And she said yeah. So I come over, I pray for her, she gives me her name, and make sure there's nothing I can do for her. And I give her my phone number, and I said, "I just live 3 miles down the road." I said, "If you need anything, you can call me anytime." And she's early 20s and she's still just sobbing. And I told her, I said, "Hey, I don't know what you're going through." I said, "But I went through 2 years of my life where every day I thought about putting a gun in my mouth and pulling the trigger.
Hmm.
But I'm here to tell you that God brought me through this, and whatever you're going through, I know God can bring you out of it as well." And so she went on her way, and I get back to the truck. And so this is like 30 minutes after I have this devotional idea, and I realize, holy smokes, Billy, you got to give her a Bible. And
Yeah.
so I look, and I've got mine that I bring to my speaking engagement that I've had for 20 years and got tons of notes. And I'm like, man, I hope I don't have to give her that one. And in my briefcase, I had one of these. And so I ran back and I said, "Hey, can I give you this?" And she said, "Sure." And she took it and she kept walking. She lived right down, not very far away. But and I don't know what
That's
happened,
great,
but
man.
the Lord works in mysterious ways, and what'll happen with that, I don't know. But I find it too coincidental that of all the years, I've never seen anybody crying on the side of the road like that. And that message came to me 30 minutes before that happened.
Totally, man. Yeah, I love that. I have the same thing. I have like a box of New Testaments in my truck. Like you can get on Amazon. They're like $2 each or something. And so I kind of carry those around. And it's funny too. I used to I used to do it more, but one day I saw some people, and I just felt led. I can't remember the exact situation. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I felt led to give them a Bible. The only one I had was my personal one, like you said, with full of notes and highlighted everywhere, and just like I kind of had an attachment to it, to be honest. And I did, and I felt like the Spirit was like, give it to him, and I didn't because I wanted to keep like my Bible with my notes and stuff, and I ended up losing that Bible like 2 weeks later. I've never seen it since.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of a random story, but if you feel led to give something, just give it because you'll probably lose it anyway if you don't. But you said something in there which I got to ask about, which is, and obviously faith's a big part of your life, and it's kind of one of the themes of this podcast. So you mentioned you'd walked through, I guess, a time of depression for a couple years. And so I don't know anything about that. Like, did you get saved and come out of that? Were you already saved? What's your story there?
Um, well, yeah, I wrote a chapter about it in my book, and I've got it on one of my Trust the Guide devotionals. I call it 7 Nights in a 6-Pack. Um, it's I guess it kind of the whole thing that encompasses it. But basically, I was a young man, dated a girl for a couple of years, and she was interested in getting married, and I just wasn't ready,
Yeah.
and that pressure created a poor dynamic, and eventually we broke up, and I lost all direction. It was kind of like I had achieved this dream. That was my biggest dream, to be Alaska hunting guide, and I had achieved that, and I just didn't know where it was going, and I wondered if I made the biggest mistake of my life because I was doing something that nobody else that I knew did. I was living a lifestyle unlike anybody that I knew. And I'm like, man, is this just like going to college and partying for 4 years? Is this something that I should just grow out of and quit? And I just lost all direction. And what brought me out of it was, and it seems to be like a secret recipe it just seems to be the what I need because I'm so dumb and slow. I've always learned everything the hard way. I'm not really good at taking advice. I'm getting better, but I've always learned things the hard way. So I'm there. I'm in this, again, long story short, I'm in this camp all by myself, no communication of any sort. And this outfitter drops me off, and I'm there 5 days by myself. And I was kind of at rock bottom. It was a spring hunt. for brown bear, and I felt like I kind of told myself, I was like, man, you need some direction to go on. After this hunt, you got to have some idea of what you want to do with your life, right? And I'm praying, I'm pacing up and down this gravel bar. I believe it was 237 paces. And I mean, I basically just ground a trench down in this thing. And the outfitter told me he'd bring me 102 days. Well, 5 days later, he flies in and he hands me a package of pork chops and a 6-pack of beer and says, hey, I took your hunter to some other guide who was seeing a lot of bears. He said, I'll have a different hunter for you here in 2 more days. And I'm like, oh, whatever. But that whole 5 days, I was just praying and crying out to God, like, God, if you're real, I need you to show up. Like, give me some direction. What do I do? I'm lost, And I'm praying and praying and praying and praying. And every day this cow and her yearling calf would cross the river by my camp, like a couple times a day. And they knew I was there. They just kind of...
Moose? Is it moose?
Yeah, moose. They really weren't paying any attention to me. So I go back to my camp. I fry a pork chop, crack open a beer, and here comes this cow and calf. The cow goes across the river, and she's nibbling on willows, and she looks back at her yearling who was halfway across the river, and all of a sudden, boom, I just realized that any day now, nature's black and white. There's no gray area in nature. Any day now, when the time is right, when her instinct tells her, hey, your new calf is coming, because she's got a big swollen belly, there's another calf or 2 in there. But when that triggers, when that switch flips, that cow is going to ostracize that yearling and make it survive on its own. It's going to have nothing to do with that yearling. And that yearling from that point on is going to have to fend off the wolves, the bears, the wolverines, every river crossing, every decision it makes. It's going to be up to it, and it will never quit. Everything in nature strives to maximize its potential until the instant it dies. And I mean, it was just a light switch thing. I just realized, Billy, you either grab the gun, put it in your mouth and pull the trigger right here, or you move on with life. I mean, and it was like literally 2 years of depression was gone just like that. I mean, it's just what it was. What I believe it was, did God put the moose calf there, the cows there? Did God I don't know. I think he communicated me, but what I believe it was is I was still enough.
Yeah.
Be still, Psalms 46:10, be still, know that I am God. Lay it down, know that I am God. Cease striving is another translation, know that I am God. I believe that Romans 1:20 says that God's invisible attributes are so clearly seen by what is created that man is without excuse. And it's just like you get a beagle, a hunting dog, or a hound dog, and they lose the trail. What do? They start in small circles, just like you're blood trailing an animal. You don't go over here and go over there and look at that spot and then go look at that spot. That's never going to work. You just start small. Yeah. And I think if we did that, if we just paid closer attention and just were still, and you look at what's around you, God's at work all around us. You don't have to run to Alaska to have a good hunt. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. But I believe that in that stillness, I believe more than anything, God probably orchestrated the events that I was there by myself for a week.
For sure.
And just to be still and cry out to him and have no other man-made distraction and just watch nature and watch that cow and calf all day. And all of a sudden, bam, it's just in that stillness and that surrender, that emptiness, that's where God comes alive. And that's the beauty of Alaska. You go do it and you will be tested. You will become empty, and there is nobody to rely on other than you, the people you're with, and God. And then in that adversity, one of 2 things are going to happen. Adversity is either going to be a wedge or it's going to be cement. And the beauty of the Alaskan wilderness is kind of like the ultimate covenant keeper, because there is nowhere to go. There ain't no 911. I mean, you can do that, but it's got to be pretty darn dire before you push that button.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's kind of it. I mean,
for sure.
It was a tough deal, but looking back at it, all things work for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. When I look back at it, I'm glad it all happened now, because now I can share that with other people. And when I look back, 25 years of guiding, and I call the campfire the hunter's altar. Every hunter knows what that's like. It's like a hunt is over. You do something, particularly the tougher the hunt, the better. When you get there and you're with men in an intimate setting, you're with them every single day and every waking minute of the day, and you go through adversity together, you're having meals, and it's like you open up like a flower to each other, right? And you
Yeah.
have these conversations that you would not have in any other arena. And what I've learned in 25 years is that every man has insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, the guy that seems to have it all together at base camp talks the most, brags the most. Usually when you get him out in the wilderness, he actually has the least.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've been there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been humbled many, many times. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like you're saying in your story, I mean, it's I think us as men, especially maybe men that are more in tune with the hunter that's inside, I believe all men or most men anyway. It's funny how lack of direction, it seems like that's not like that big of a deal. Like I don't have direction, but lack of direction, lack of a sense of purpose, lack of a goal can be like crushing, debilitating. And the other thing from your story is just, distraction, like you're saying. I mean, every single thing in our modern life and culture is really designed to distract us from that stillness. And I think it's a very intentional. It's not just an accident. Like I feel like the more older I get, the more I realize there's no, like spiritually speaking, there's nothing neutral. Everything's either like with the kingdom of God or it's the kingdom of darkness. And so it might seem neutral. Oh, I'm just being distracted, but no, really, that's distracting you on purpose because stillness is so important. And so I try to intentionally build in some stillness into my day. Wake up a little early because if you don't, it won't happen. And even then, it's tough.
Amen. A lot of things there. It's a proverb, where there is no vision, people perish.
Mm-hmm.
Spot on. And I've always said, if you slice everything thin enough, it's either good or it's evil.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's exactly the point I was trying to make. So thank you. In that, like you see the hound dog and everything in nature, they start small, they work close. Pick up your phone. What does your phone do? Your phone takes you to, a new car or a vacation or some rock band with a half naked girlfriend of his, and somebody that just plummeted into financial ruin, and it just scatters you all over the place. And it's just in the stillness. So we're just talking with a friend of mine who, I don't know, the last couple of days, it's like you look back at your life, like where do you think, like what are you gonna reflect on, and where are the most important moments of your life and the most treasured memories of your life? Where are they going to come from? Do you have kids?
I do. Yeah, I got 2, number 3 on the way.
Very good.
You?
Yep, three daughters. Like,
okay.
Where are the 90% of those memories are probably going to take place, or they're gonna have happened in the kitchen table, the dining room table, the kitchen, the yard, the vehicle, just like within a close proximity of
the
your
small
home.
moments. Yeah.
And I always say that about hunting is the greatest moments on hunting trips are so often seemingly insignificant when they happen. And it takes you years to look back at them. And a big one that I learned all those years that we'd go up into the mountains. We had tons of sheep in our area at the time, and we'd go shoot a Dall sheep, and then everybody, okay, well, let's try to go back down to the valley. We can get a caribou before the hunt's over. And I'd do that. And sometimes you'd get a sheep, a caribou, and a grizzly bear. Maybe if you're lucky, you'd get a wolf. And you do that all in a week, right?
Wow.
You're doing a good job as a guide. But I believe as a true professional, you should know more of what your clients want than they do. You should have an insight or something to offer them that they don't even know they want. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned is after we shoot a sheep anymore, we gather up some willows and we cook the sheep ribs after you bust your butt, hopefully for 4 or 5 days or whatever, and you're eating nothing but freeze dried, and you grill those ribs and you have those conversations and you eat that fat and you feel that what that does to your body. And then 2-3 years later, when I'm at some hunter's house and we're having a beer or whatever, and we're looking up at that mount, it's like it's inevitable. It's like, man, those ribs, that was the best meal I ever ate in my life.
Yep.
You know, it's those small details
For
that's
sure.
what makes it. That's what you remember. At least
100%. Yeah, and that's kind of a good segue because a lot of guys say, "Oh, it's more about the experience than the kill and all that stuff." And that's true. I'm not going to lie, like I like killing stuff. But
everybody wants the end goal.
What's that?
Everybody
Yeah,
wants to. That's
sure,
the end goal.
of course.
Yeah.
But at least I heard a podcast. I don't know if this has changed since the podcast I heard, but have you still not like ever actually hunted yourself in Alaska?
Not in Alaska, no.
Okay, so you've got to be one of the most experienced hunters, out there. Maybe the most experienced hunter in Alaska that's never actually killed your game species. That's crazy. So I mean, it's really not about the kill for you.
No.
Talk to me about that.
Come on, brother. What's the Bible verse? I'm gonna test you and put you on the spot.
What's the Bible verse for that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's better to give than receive.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, it is. As a young man, I went there. I figured out, well, I'll guide for a while, and eventually the opportunity and doors of opportunity. I mean, yeah, I could have, but I mean, I was raising a family, particularly on the first 10 years. There's no way I could justify going hunting for myself and, losing the income and having to buy the tag and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know, probably about 10, 15 years into it, I'd say that I just kind of lost it. At one point, I had my hunter tag go out, a moose hunter. He shot a moose, shot a wolf, and he left. And I was there by myself, and I howled in this wolf. Didn't need a tag in the area, had no client. The thing comes into 100 yards, and I'm filming it, and I realize it's like, as he was kind of going away, I was like, I had time, I could have shot him. And I was like, dang, I don't want to just shoot him because I can. And I don't know. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to film him. And I was like imagining that'd be pretty cool to have a wolf hide hanging by my mantle. But I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I'm all for shooting wolves. I mean, if I went there to hunt one, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that's my place. That's not my calling. I mean, I've hunted places. I've been to New Zealand and Africa and whatever. I still shoot deer and I'll still go hunting. Matter of fact, I'm going turkey hunting in Northern California in a couple of weeks. But
oh, nice.
Yeah, I look at it as like I get to make 60-year-old men's childhood dreams come true. And for me, it's more rewarding to do that. It's who I am. I feel that I'm a much better guide than I am a hunter. I don't know why, but I can take all the mistakes and all the things that I've done and the things that I've tried and the things that I've learned. And it's so much more rewarding for me to give that to another person than it would be, because I feel like Alaska's given me more than I deserve. And if I were to go there to take something from it, I don't know. If the opportunity ever arose, I'd maybe go sheep hunting for myself. Maybe that day will come. Maybe that'll be my fly fishing and my wing shooting. Maybe I will start to go up there and I'll hunt.
Retire to doll sheep.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's something, I don't know. Like for me, it just seems like something very poetic about like highly experienced Alaskan guide, but has not hunted for himself. It sounds interesting. But I was wondering as you were talking about it, I wonder if something about being the hunter, you're like the guy pulling the trigger, creates some kind of weird mental dynamic where it actually sort of clouds your judgment a little bit. Like I wonder if you're almost more free to make clearer, better hunting decisions when you're not the guy pulling the trigger, or like have all this pressure on yourself, like, oh, I gotta kill.
Yes. I would say you're absolutely right. I'd be more than willing to listen to anything that you have to say, because I'd say you're absolutely right. Because For me, well, I tell this, some guys come to me and they say, hey, I want to shoot a sheep. I want it, or they'll tell, this is the words that I hear very often. I want to kill a Dall sheep. And I'll just say, hey man, I appreciate that. And everybody that calls me that's interested in sheep hunting, that's our goal. And as a guide, I want you to kill a Dall sheep. And I mean, I don't mean to sound like arrogant with this, but I want the guy that says, hey, I want to go Dall sheep hunting.
Yeah.
And then that's made it easy. Being the guide, you're probably exactly right. It's made it easy for me to look at it from that standpoint. Because as a young guide, I mean, there was like 10 years, man, where it was my ego and my pride. I wanted every hunter, every one of my hunters to get a sheep more for me than I did for them, right? Because I didn't want to go back to base camp to be the guide whose hunter didn't get one, right? Or whatever, bear, moose, all of it. And then, but I could see that in the older guides that over time they kind of lost that. And what really changed my perspective is when I went hunting with New Zealand, this guy named Craig Smith, awesome dude, great guide. Like, it really changed my perspective that I realized, like, man, I'm there to serve that hunter. I have an opportunity to make his dream come true. And more recently, sometimes to witness. I mean, I'm really not preaching to those guys out there, but I think you just sometimes, every once in a while I do, but not too often. But you have an opportunity to give, like I said, give them something they didn't even know existed. Teach them something about themselves that they never did before. I lived 8 years of my life in a tent in the wilderness, and I'm here to tell you this, it's just like a diet. If you're eating junk food and you get off that junk food, right, you're going to feel better. And then if you then go back to that junk food, holy smokes, that's when you're really going to feel it. That's when you're going to realize, like, oh my gosh, I actually put this crap in my body.
Yeah.
You'll be able to recognize what it does to your body just like that. When I'd go to the wilderness when I was really young, I mean, I'd be out in a tent for 6 months straight. I mean, I'd stay in a hotel in a house, 4 or 5 days, maybe a week tops during that time. But I was out in the wilderness, and then I come home, fly back to Minneapolis, and on the way back home, the first time that I sit in traffic and I see nothing but brake lights, and I look beside me and there's somebody in a car eating a Big Mac and on their phone, it's just like,
it's depressing.
Oh my gosh, this is insanity. You know, you remove yourself from that and then you come back to it. So I guess my point is like, I'm not the one writing the check. So it's easy for me to not worry about getting the sheep, particularly now. I am, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get my client the sheep. But I realize that it's not the end all. You can do everything right in hunting and not get the animal. It's just the way it works. And that's the beauty of it. And if you can't accept that, it's like saying, hey, I want to go fishing. Well, if you have to have a fish, then go to the grocery store and buy a can of tuna. Do you want to go fishing or do you want to buy tuna?
Right.
It's the adventure. You gotta let Alaska be Alaska. Because if it's a guarantee, it's not Alaska anymore. What are you hunting for?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, like I said, my first trip to Alaska changed my life, and we didn't kill anything, but it still was like the coolest thing ever, And been back, hunted Kodiak in 21, and then going this year, hopefully to get my caribou, because it's the opportunities for hunting Alaska are getting tougher and tougher. It's getting harder to find people to book. It's harder to find transports. I mean, I had to literally talk this guy into, it's a airboat. I had to basically talk him into taking me up on an off day, and I told him I'll float out on my own. You don't have to pick me up. You don't have to give me a base camp. I'll bring my own stuff. But anyway, all I have to say is it's getting tougher and tougher. So I'm hopefully we'll have a great hunt, and I know it's going to be an adventure, tag or no tag. But the question I was getting around to was originally it was planned as a sheep hunt. And the guide called me up in the Alaska range. Guide called me up and basically said, "There's no legal rams in my area." So, and it's definitely a dream of mine still to hunt sheep at some point. But I would just like your take on kind of the state of Alaska as far as kind of more DIY opportunity. Obviously, there's certain species like sheep that are not DIY. You have to have a guide, but just kind of the opportunity in Alaska where you see that going. Like, what's the health of it? That kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. I mean, Alaska is so big and so vast. And I mean, and I've hunted a fair bit, but I mean, throughout the years, but obviously populations are changing. I mean, it would seem, I don't even know the statistics, but it generally seems there's certainly a lot of areas where the caribou population, for example, is kind of in decline. And then with the, like, how old are you?
I'm 36. I just turned
Okay.
36.
Well, I'm 45. So yeah, we're not too far off, but at least 20 somethings and 30 somethings, they're more willing to spend their money than, the generation above us, me anyway. They were pretty frugal, let's say. And so there's a lot more demand. And it seems like the supply definitely isn't any higher on most animals. And then there's certainly a lot of information on readily available information on how to do things yourself. And I mean, I love it. I mean, that's cool. The cool thing about a DIY, man, is you get extra adventure to it. You can plan and do all those things, and then you get all that ownership. Every failure, every high, low. That's what makes it. That's what makes it an adventure, right? So I think a DIY opportunity is outstanding, but maybe I got to believe that probably at some point in time, Alaska's, at least in some areas, is probably going to have to do a little bit less of the over-counter opportunity.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why it's so attractive. You can go, you can just plan it, you can book the trip and you can go. But I suspect that there's probably going to be more limiting done by Fish and Game to control numbers. And yeah, I probably don't. I'm definitely not an expert in that
For sure. Yeah.
area, in that field. But
how are the sheep doing in the Brooks range overall, you think?
well, we had a major die-off. We lost about 80% of our herd in the area that I hunt about 6-7 years ago. It's coming back, but I mean, it's still tough. But you know what? I actually prefer that because there's so few sheep that we don't have much pressure because they're so hard to come by. You really got to work for them. Like when I first started guiding there, we had really good numbers of sheep. There was more resident pressure because there was a lot of sheep, and then after that die off, there's a lot of areas, and I would say sheep general across the state are down from what I know. Again, I'm not one poring over statistics, more or less just people that I talk to, other guides, outfitters. So there's definitely good sheep hunting to be had, but I've heard of stories, not so much in the past. You hear about pretty low success in like the Yukon and Northwest Territories from different outfitters. Again, this is all secondhand information. But I remember hearing from hunters talking about, oh, I could go to the Northwest Territories. This guy had 35 hunters and they killed 35 sheep. And part of me is like, I don't know if I'd want to do that hunt. Now, that said, I mean, when I went to Africa to hunt Cape buffalo, I think it's very, very rare that the hunters don't get one. I mean, so I don't mean to, I hope I don't sound holier than thou, but maybe it's just the philosopher in me. And I know for me as a guide, again, it's easy for me because I'm not writing the check.
Right.
But I'm glad. Like when I go to the Alaska Peninsula to hunt bears, you're gonna get a bear. I mean, as long as there's not some major act of God, right? But we're there to try to target a big mature bear. It is a little bit of an afterthought that, you're probably going to get a bear. But I mean, obviously with sheep, you got to be full curl or 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different story. Or a moose got to be 50 inches, right? So I love I love the fact that we don't get one every time.
Yeah.
I love it because
Yeah.
it makes it so it's not a given. When you start out, when right off the get go, it's like, there's whatever you want to, let's just say maybe 75, 80%, maybe a little better, 80,
Yeah.
yeah, 80%. If you do everything right, there's a 20% chance you're going to fail. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. And as we talked about before, I mean, you personally are much more into the adventure and the whole experience than just the kill. And I don't know. I think is there. So that's easy to say. It's kind of hard to do when it's a bucket list hunt. You've been saving up for it, whatever. You know how it is. I mean, it's different coming from an average hunter's perspective. Is there anything you could say to somebody who may be starting off with their first trip to Alaska or thinking about it? Like, are there any ways that you could coach people to kind of help them enjoy the experience and take some of the pressure off of I have to kill something?
Yep. First thing I would say, if you're not 100% committed to the bow, leave it at home. That'd be the first thing that I'd say. I mean, if you're not willing on day 10 of a 10-day hunt, the last afternoon, and you're stalking a bear, if you know in your heart that you'd grab the rifle, I'd leave the bow at home. Mm-hmm. That'd be one to take that pressure off, right? Because it'll create pressure on everybody, particularly if you're guided. There are people that you're with.
Yeah.
You're basically just going to be dragging an anchor behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be my piece of advice there for that. I would say there's an old saying, the wheel of misfortune has an equal number of stops for every man. So you can bet that if you do any hunting, you can roll the dice and you can buy the one lottery ticket and you can go on that one big hunt of your life, and it'll you'll get the animal and it'll go the way you kind of imagine. But if you do it enough, just know that failure is inherent, or not getting an animal is inherent.
Yeah.
If you go to it, it's like, man, I'm here. I would bring it back to this. And actually, I've told this to a lot of people. If you have to kill one, if you can't imagine the thought of going to Alaska and not killing the caribou or the moose, you're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't stand the thought of having not gone and tried, now you're ready.
Nice. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. So where would you say is a good place for people who might be inspired by this and want to book something in Alaska? What's a good hunt, good species to kind of start off with?
Yeah, I'd say caribou used to be pretty cheap, by far the cheapest option, and now they're getting pretty darn spendy because they're harder to come by. I mean, that's a good way to do it for DIY for sure. But again, those are getting pretty hard to come by. I'd be pretty like I'm leery of as far out as some of these hunts are booking out, particularly caribou. Moose generally, for the most part, seem to be a little bit more stable. Bears are stable. Moose are more stable.
You meaning you're seeing more demand for caribou? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
So the price has gone way up, and the DIY, because of the price, it's the cheapest option. And I would say that's probably the place where I always would have told people, if you're going to go guided right now, grizzly bear hunts there's good quality grizzly bear hunts, not much more expensive than a caribou. And a lot of times you can maybe kind of combine the two. I mean, now you're getting into some maybe upper echelon type hunting, but for few thousand more, I would say the going rate on a guided caribou hunt's about 15 grand. Going rate on a grizzly bear is about 20.
Yeah.
That said, caribou used to be about 50% the cost of a grizzly bear hunt.
Oh, wow.
So they're climbing just because I think the supply in general is low and the demand is so high.
Yeah.
But yeah, black bear hunt, maybe like a spot and stock black bear hunt on some of these islands or along the coast would be good. Black-tailed deer is probably the best value on Kodiak. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Fun
cool.
hunt.
You kind of get Alaskan experience, see some bears, hunt some rugged country. So yeah, and doing a moose hunt is, yeah, do that yourself, do the preparation, get a buddy or something. That's a
Yeah.
pretty cool opportunity, again, on a budget, good way to learn. And one thing I have seen from a lot of people, and it kind of makes sense, is a little bit counterintuitive, but their first time they go to Alaska, they'll go on a guided hunt just to learn, and then you're so much better prepared to
Yeah.
do it yourself from then on.
For
But
sure.
again, if you put in the legwork, you watch enough videos, read enough books, and get some good resources, a skilled, seasoned hunter with ambition and initiative, you can go in and be pretty darn successful on a
For
lot of these
sure.
DIY hunts these days.
Yeah. I mean, we did. So when I went on my first trip, I was with a buddy, and he'd been to Alaska before, and he'd had some experience, but he wasn't a guide. He was just a friend. He's from Virginia, same thing. So that's an example of he was a pretty experienced hunter, had done some Western hunting,
Yeah.
but we pulled it off, DIY, and I mean we didn't fill a tag, but the thing is, we could have actually if I had done more research, because I had two different opportunities with animals in easy range, but they were small bulls, and I wasn't 100% sure they weren't cows.
Hmm.
But I think if I had done my homework a little more, I could have field judged them better. But anyway,
Yeah,
so it can be done.
probably maybe a good thing there too. That if you're still in doubt, I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it was the wise decision not to shoot, because that's
you
not something you
learn,
want
like,
to
what
deal
did
with.
you learn? Like, you'll never forget that lesson.
Exactly.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? Just
Never
comes
forget
back
it.
to Romans 8:28. All things work for good. Like, you'll learn that, and you'll never forget. The hardest lessons are the best ones
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
ingrained. They get drove in deep. That nail's driven
Yeah.
deep when it's painful, when it's costly.
For sure. And I mean, I think it'll be almost more rewarding if, Lord willing, I am able to get one this next year. It'll be kind of more rewarding. I'll have
Absolutely.
so, and it'll so anyway, looking forward to that hunt. And I was gonna say something about Kodiak, but that's a super super fun hunt, man. For people who want to start off somewhere, I did that one last year. I can't remember what I was gonna say, but anyway, Kodiak's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. It's been great talking to you. Tell people where they can find your videos and check you out if they want to kind of see more of your stories and stuff like that.
Yep. My website's BillyMollsAdventures.com. If you Google search Modern Day Mountain Man, you'll find my website. I am on Instagram, The Modern Day Mountain Man. I am on Facebook. I think that's just Modern Day Mountain Man. If you look it up, you'll find it. On YouTube, I've got a few, probably like 25% of my films, my Alaska hunting films, on YouTube. I've got them on DVD and digital download on my website. I've got a men's ministry called Trust the Guide. You can find that on the same channel on YouTube. What else do I
Nice.
do on there? Yeah, that's pretty much it. You'll find it. Google search Modern Day Mountain Man, and my name will come up.
Cool. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks again for your time. Hope we can stay in touch. Maybe we can do a hunt together someday or something.
Right on, man. Share a campfire. That's what I love it. This is what I take away from it. The greatest experience, or the greatest blessing, and what I love and what I'm addicted to, is this: wilderness immersion. It takes a lot of time, but that's what I love. I think that's where the gold is. That's what fuels me. That's what fuels my soul. That's what I love about it. And that's where the title, I mean, it was just ever since I was a kid, that's where I came up with the title. Modern Day Mountain Man came about as a title of the television show that I ran, because as a kid, that's how I wanted to live. And I think that's iconic, and every kid dreams of that, living the life like a mountain man. Just that simplistic lifestyle, and just that basic lifestyle where you have to be in tune with everything around you. And again, that immersion as a guide, it's that hunter comes in for 10 days. Well, I'll be up there for I'll be in the wilderness hunting, and even in Alaska, I think the most straight days I did was 89,
Oh,
and
wow.
just guiding. And so, I mean, everything else just kind of falls away, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where the magic happens. And it takes a lot of time. There's no hack and there's no shortcut for that. And
Yes.
yeah, you want to learn and you want to be successful and you want to make the most out of your opportunities. But yeah, it's for me, that's what I found addicting, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Like I remember as a kid reading like My Side of the Mountain. I don't know if you ever read that. I was a kid who like lived in the wilderness alone, and there's Hatchet. Like I was obsessed with these books and like obsessed with the idea of myself with like just living in the wilderness, right? Just so pure and of course that's it's a kid's dream, but I was talking about this to somebody earlier today actually. It's like when you go on these trips, and I love how you put it, wilderness immersion, and you can't hack it, you can't cheat it, you can't skip, because what happens is you get on these trips, and the first 2 or 3 days are kind of rough. They're rough on your body, they're rough mentally. It's everything is completely different all at once. Usually you're getting off an airplane, did some kind of usually pretty tough hike getting in there. And then, you're sleeping on the ground. The food's completely different. Everything's different all at once. You don't have all your technology and, climate control. And the first couple days can be kind of tough. And then day 3 or 4, you really just start to like settle in, to like embrace the dirt and the grime. And you just like, something clicks and you can kind of, but you have to go through that initial kind of, it's like you have to pay your dues to get there. This first couple days of what am I doing with my life, and then and then you're just there, man. And that's an experience that while I love deer hunting and walking out in my backyard and hunting and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. There's something where that immersive multi-day experience is just on a different kind of level.
With the Lord, a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is a day. That's exactly
Amen.
right. And I've said that in a 10-day hunt, you've got a 5-day window, because just like you said, it takes you 3 days to decompress,
Yep.
forget about all the technology. And then somewhere about day 8, the hunter says, when I get back home, it's all over. They start talking about what they're going to do when they get back home. Their mind switch. They start thinking about leaving. They get a 5. So in 10 days, you get 5 days of sweet spot.
Yeah.
So revel in that 5 days, and yeah.
Yeah, I recommend. I know it's tough with different guys with stuff, but if you're gonna plan a big trip like an Alaska trip or something, do 10 days, especially Alaska. I mean, you might lose 3 days to weather. I mean, easy. So don't try to squeeze in like a 4-day Alaska hunt. I mean, it's better than 0 days, but like, don't do it.
Nah. Yeah. Sure.
So, well, cool, man. This has been great, man. Appreciate your time, and looking forward to hopefully talking again sometime in the future.
All righty, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks.